Welcome to Emotions and Stories. Silence, when broken, creates a lot of noise, and it becomes difficult to go back to that quiet moments before it's broken. Let's begin our today's story, The Silence of Devipur. Devipur was the kind of village where doors remained unlocked and everyone knew each other's secret, or so they thought. That illusion shattered one misty morning when Savitri Rao was found dead on her kitchen floor. She lay in a pool of blood, her cotton sari soaked crimson. There was no sign of forced entry, no murder weapon, no footprints on the damp earthen floor, nothing. It was as if the killer had vanished into thin air. Inspector Harshvardhan Joshi stood over the body, his jaw clenched. No signs of struggle, he murmured. She either knew the killer or never saw it coming. The entire village gathered outside Savitri's modest home, whispering theories. She lived alone after her husband passed, muttered Kamla, the grocer's wife. She had no enemies, added Guruji Pratap, the temple priest clutching the Rudraksh beads. But Savitri had secrets. Inspector Joshi searched the house. The jewelry box remained untouched. The money in the cupboard was still there, but something felt off. On the kitchen counter sat a single cup of chai, still warm. Had she been expecting someone? Then he found it, a tiny smear of ink on her fingertips. Savitri's diary sat on the table, open but blank. Her pen rested beside it, but the last page had been torn out. What was she trying to write before she died? The next day, Savitri's neighbor Rekha Iyer came forward. I saw her last night. She was out the window looking afraid. Afraid of what? Inspector Joshi asked. I don't know, Rekha whispered, but she locked her door, which she never does. Suspicion fell on Savitri's estranged nephew Rohan Rao. He had returned to Devipur just 2 days before her death, looking desperate and disheveled. I came for money, Rohan admitted when questioned, but she refused it and I left it, that's all. Yet his alibi was weak. He claimed to have spent the night at the village dharamshala, but no one saw him there. Just when the inspector considered arresting him, something strange happened. Savitri's diary page was found floating in the village well. The ink had bled, but 2 words were still legible. Not him. A chill ran down Inspector Joshi's spine. It wasn't Rohan. Then who? That night, a storm rolled in and the village lost power. As Joshi sat in his dimly lit office, a knock came at the door. It was Guruji Pratap, the temple priest. His face was pale, eyes sunken. He placed something on the desk, a blood-stained Rudraksh mala. She knew, he whispered. Joshi stared at him. Knew what? Guruji's lips trembled. Savitri came to me seeking guidance. She had learned something that should never have been spoken. A realization struck Joshi like lightning. The killer wasn't an outsider. It wasn't Rohan, it was someone Savitri had trusted enough to let them into her house. She was writing it down, the priest continued, and before she could, she was silenced. Joshi's heart pounded. What was the secret? Guruji took a deep breath. It was about Vikram Nair. Joshi froze. Vikram was the village sarpanch, a respected man, but what could Savitri have known about him? Guruji continued, his voice barely above a whisper. Savitri discovered that Vikram was siphoning off government funds meant for farmers. She had proof, papers, records, fake accounts. She was going to expose him and that's why she died. A cold dread settled over Joshi. Where are the documents now? Guruji shook his head, gone, burnt maybe. A loud bang echoed from outside. Joshi's instinct kicked in as he grabbed his revolver and rushed to the window. The village square was eerily empty, save for one shadowy figure walking towards them, Vikram Nair. Dressed immaculately in white, he carried an umbrella, his expression calm, too calm. "Inspector," he greeted, stepping inside. "Heard you were looking for me." Joshi clenched his fists. "Where were you on the night of Savitri's murder?" Vikram smiled. "At home, of course, with my wife." A practiced lie. But Joshi already knew the truth. Savitri had threatened to expose him, and he had silenced her before she could. He was powerful, feared, and clever enough to erase any evidence against him. But Savitri had written something before she died. Joshi pulled out the diary page from his pocket and placed it on the table. Vikram's smile faded as he read the words. Not him. Because the real murderer was her. The piece clicked into place. The missing page wasn't a plea to clear Rohan's name, it was a warning. Savitri hadn't written not him to exonerate Rohan. She had written it because she had figured out who was truly dangerous. Radhika Nair, Vikram's wife. She had overheard Savitri talking to someone about the missing funds, and she knew her husband would be ruined if the truth came out. So while Vikram remained blissfully unaware, Radhika had taken the matters into her own hands. She visited Savitri's home that night, pretending to seek help. She had tea with her, smiled at her, lulled her into false sense of security. Then, the moment Savitri turned back, she stabbed her in the heart with a kitchen knife. A clean, precise kill, no struggle, no mess. And with the missing page destroyed, no evidence remained. Except it wasn't destroyed, because Inspector Joshi still held the page. And at the bottom, barely visible beneath the ink smudges, Savitri had written one last word, Radhika. Vikram's face turned pale as Joshi slid the page towards him. "She did it for you," he said quietly, "and now you will both answer for it." The temple bells tolled in the distance, drowning out Vikram's silence. Justice had finally arrived in Devipur. I hope you enjoyed today's story. Do let us know in the comments below what you think about it. Thank you.